Money talk.
Here comes the money.
We are baking bets and we are making money. The reason I want to make this channel is over the last year or so, I've been giving out my picks to my buddies. It's just like a fun little hobby, right? And it's been going really well. Over the last 5 events, we only had 10 incorrect picks. So I decided I want to share the wealth a little bit. I want to get everyone in on the action. I want people to cash some parlays. And also on this channel, I want to make the fight breakdown videos as quick and concise as possible. I know not everyone is the biggest UFC or MMA fan, and they just want to know why they're gambling on the guy they're gambling on, right? Or the girl they're gambling on. They don't really care about every little nuanced detail, everyone they fought in the past. So I'm going to make these breakdowns as quick as possible. We're going to get right into it. We're going to start with UFC Fight Night Nashville, Lewis versus Teixeira. Let's just jump right in. Now, I'm not sure if this is the correct bout order, but this is the bout order we're going to go with, right? We're going to start off the card with Fata, who is a huge minus 1250 favorite. Some places I've seen her as big as minus 1500. She's a huge favorite in this fight. She's going against Melissa Martinez, plus 750 on your return on her. Martinez is a good striker. She's very tough, very durable, but she hasn't been in there in a while. I think her last fight might have been mid-2024, right? So I don't know if she is as active as I'd like her to be. Klein's a great grappler. She trains with Aaron Blanchfield, who's obviously a beast in the 125-pound division. So I do think Fata McCline wins this very easily, very clearly, but I do think the line's a little bit too high. So I would not touch it. I wouldn't even put it on a parlay for minus 1,500 in some places. So we're going to go with Fata McCline, money line for our pick. But again, I wouldn't really touch it. I wouldn't put it on match because the odds are just way too ridiculous. Here's another fight with very, very crazy odds. We got Mike Davis minus 900 versus Mitch Ramirez plus 650. Mike Davis, at one point, I thought was going to be a contender in the welterweight division, right? For a long time in the UFC, his only loss was to Gilbert Burns, who's obviously fought for the title before. So I do think Mike Davis was going to be a contender, but he looked bad in his last fight. It was the worst I've ever seen him look by a long shot. So this kind of scares me that his odds are so high, but he's going against Mitch Ramirez, who I just don't think is UFC caliber. Obviously, for a regular human being, he's a very tough guy who'd probably knock out 99.9% of the world. But against Mike Davis, I just don't see where he could beat him. I don't even see where he could compete with him, really. So we're going to go Mike Davis. Right now, again, he's minus 900, some places minus 1,000, but I would put him on a parlay. I would feel comfortable with it just because I feel that confident that he's going to get a win. Just his last fight not being a good performance, right? I still feel confident in him. But I do feel like he could finish this guy. I feel like he could finish Mitch Ramirez. So if you want to get a little bit dicey, you want to add a little bit more to it, put Mike Davis by KO or submission just because Mike Davis is super well-rounded. Very good fighter. I think he bounces back. And hopefully he starts getting a little bit more active in his career. Next fight on the card, we got Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Walter Walker. Now, I love Kennedy in this fight. I love Kennedy as a fighter. He's another guy I thought was going to be a prospect one day at 205, but it kind of just turned out the weight cut was a little bit too much for him. He's had a really easy path since he moved up to heavyweight, but I do think heavyweight overall is going to a great career move for him. I think he's just going to be so much more athletic than the heavyweights, and I feel like his strength is still going to carry over. He's a very good anti-wrestler, anti-grappler, where Walter Walker just wants to take you down. So I do think Kennedy does keep it on his feet. What really scares me, though, is at one point I feel like Walter Walker might get a little bit desperate, and he might start going for leg locks and heel hooks, and he is unbelievable at those, and Kennedy has the longest legs of all time. So that scares me a little bit. I'm going to go with Kennedy minus 205. I feel like he's going to knock out Walker, and I feel like his lack of output kind of helps his anti-wrestling, right? Kennedy doesn't throw a lot of strikes. Against OSP, I remember that he didn't do enough to beat OSP. And on paper, he was younger. He was coming up. OSP was kind of on his way out. And Kennedy got beat by him, right? Just because he didn't do anything. But I feel like his lack of output against Walter is going to actually help him out because it's going to keep him on his feet. It's going to keep him being able to find that one shot and just put Walter Walker out cold. So I'm going to go Kennedy minus 205, but just like the other fight, if you want to put a little bit extra on it and put it by KO, I wouldn't blame you. We got Eduardo Mora going against Lauren Murphy. Now, these odds terrify me. There's a lot of weird odds in these on this card right here. But Eduardo Mora minus 625 favorite against Lauren Murphy plus 455. 455 on Lauren Murphy's insane. I know she hasn't looked good. She hasn't been that active lately, but she is such a dog. And I don't know if Mora's really been tested, right? She has one loss in the UFC, and it was against, I want to say it was Denise Gomes in a split decision. Yeah, it was against Denise Gomes in a split. So, I don't know. I do think Mora's a good fighter. She beat Veronica Hardy, who Veronica Hardy has looked really good recently after not looking good to start her career. And then out of nowhere, she just kind of looked like a world beater. And then she ran into Eduardo Mora. She ended up losing a unanimous decision. And she was dominated that whole fight, right? So you're going against Lauren Murphy, who, again, she's a vet. She has a lot of mileage on her, but she's so tough, right? So minus 455 for Lauren Murphy's insane. I'm going to take Mora just on the fight pick, right? I do think she's going to win. She might even submit her, but it's going to... The odds are so insane. I would not put this on a parlay. I would not really trust it. And if I do use it on a parlay, I'm going to put Mora as the last leg of the parlay. So that way, if my parlay's winning and I'm doing well, then I could hedge it with Lauren Murphy. So we're going to go with Eduardo Mora as the last leg of some parlays. That way, if things are going well, we can hedge it with Lauren Murphy. Either way, we're going to make some money. I'm excited for this fight. We got Jake Matthews versus Chitty Bang Bang Nzechukwani. Now, Chitty looked awesome in his last fight. I don't think the weight cut to 70 is great for him, though. I really don't. I know he's looked good at 70, but he missed weight his last fight. That weight cut has to be so tough for him. He doesn't have that much weight to lose, right? He's a very tall guy, 6'3", and he's muscular, right? So getting down to 170 must be such a pain in the ass for him. But then you got Jake Matthews on the other side. Jake Matthews, minus 105. Some places you get Jake Matthews at plus money. Chitty is a minus 115. Some places minus 125. I don't trust Chitty's cardio. And I do think Jake Matthews is a dog. Jake Matthews only been finished, I think, once in his career before by strikes. So I do like Jake Matthews a lot in this fight. He looked good against Francisco Prado. And I took Jake Matthews big time because I just thought he was just so much better than Prado. And I think that Chitty is obviously dangerous round 1, round 2, but I do think Jake Matthews outdogs him. I don't know if he gets a finish in the third round, but I do think that Jake Matthews wins maybe a split decision here. But yeah, give me Jake Matthews in this fight, minus 105. Then we got Action Man Chris Curtis at minus 330 versus Max Payne Griffin plus 260. They are just giving you money on this fight. I think Chris Curtis cutting down to welterweight is an unbelievable move, even though him and Sean Strickland been storming cages at local MMA promotions lately. Look it up. It's insane. Those guys, they got problems. But I don't think he's going to have a problem getting down to 170. I think Curtis is a natural 170. I think that it's going to help him out in a similar way it helped out Joaquin Buckley, right? Buckley dropped down to 70. It showed that it helped his career a lot because he's not a true 85er, where I think Curtis is not a true 85er. Now, do I think Curtis is going to get to the top 5 like Buckley did? Probably not. But I could see him being a ranked guy at 170 if he really applies himself, cuts the weight correctly. I think he could be a problem at 170 for a lot of guys. And Max Griffin, he looked really good against Michael Morales, but at the end of the day, he looked so bad against Michael Chiesa. I don't care. I'm going to take that Chiesa. It's the last thing. It's what have you done for me lately? And what has he done for me lately is he got beat by Michael Chiesa really bad, and he looked terrible. So give me Chris Curtis, minus 330. I think the weight cut's going to be great for him. I think he's going to dominate. This is a very, very good bet. I don't know why the odds are minus 330 right here. Junior Tafa, minus 166 versus Tokos. I love the Tafa brothers. I like them a lot. And this is another fighter who's changing weight classes. I think it's going to be a good weight class change for him. You got Tafa dropping down to 205. He's a bigger guy, right? He's not in the best shape, right? So I think that him dropping down to 205 is going to be a great career move for him. I don't know if it gets him ranked someday, but I do think he's going to be a lot more competitive against wrestlers at 205. And that's what Tokos is, right? But Tokos has no wins in major promotions, right? I believe he was 0-2 in Bellator, maybe 0-3 in Bellator, and then he was 0-2 in the UFC. So I don't know. I know he is a wrestler, and that's the Tafa's kind of kryptonite, but I don't know if he's going to be strong enough and good enough to wrestle him, and the Tafas could just knock you out in one punch. So give me Junior Tafa minus 166, but that wouldn't be another one that I'd be afraid of to go a nice little prop bet of Tafa by KO. We got Vita Patrino versus Austin Lane. Vita Patrino's a minus 700 favorite. Austin Lane plus 500. Patrino has some bad luck lately. It could be bad luck, or it could just be him being an idiot in the cage sometimes, right? He shot in at Anthony Smith, who is, with all due respect, older, out of his prime. Shot in on him super early in the fight where the guys are still dry. Anthony Smith, who has very good jiu-jitsu, Don't know why you're shooting in on him. Should have stood up with him, snatched him up in a guillotine, choked him out first round. Then in his next fight, I think he's beating Jacoby 2.5 rounds, right? I thought he beat him round 1, round 2, held him down round 3. It was a very boring fight. I think he was worried about his cardio a little bit, but he was beating him up and then got knocked out, got sparked unconscious. I think people forget how good Jacoby's hands are sometimes, because he's a former Glory kickboxing champion, right? The guy, he's not a fool, right? But you're going against Austin Lane. Austin Lane gets knocked out in the heavyweight division, and he's another guy changing weight classes. He's dropping down to light heavyweight, but I think this is a bad weight cut for him. He's a big guy, muscular guy, good shape, former NFL player, but he's already chinny. He gets knocked out a lot by heavyweights. We know Patrino has knockout power. I think he knocks Austin Lane out. Again, I wouldn't mind that prop bet of you betting on Patrino by knockout, but I like Patrino, moneyline straight up, minus 700. Give me Patrino all day, every day. He gets back on track. He goes back to being a contender. Maybe not a title contender like we thought, but I believe he's going to be a top 10 guy for the rest of his career. Now we got Nate the Train Landwehr, fan favorite at plus 210 versus Morgan Sharier, minus 258. Morgan Sharier, I think he's a good fighter. I really do. I know he hasn't looked good in every fight. Like his last fight against Nathaniel Wood did not look good. He got beat by Chepe in a split decision, which I thought maybe not a robbery, but I do think that Sharier won that fight. I think Sharier is good, and I think Nate Landwehr he has so much mileage on him. We know exactly how this fight's going to go. I feel like early on, Sharier is going to be winning. Second round, Sharier is going to be winning. Then you get in the third round, at some point, maybe halfway through, Sharier gets a little bit gassed, and then Nate Landwehr starts turning it on. But he looks so bad against Doo Ho Choi. I think that Sharier runs away with this one. I have a lot of confidence in Sharier. Like I said, there might be some points in that third round we're all crapping ourselves. But at the end of the day, give me Sharier minus 258 all day, every day. Steve Garcia minus 140 versus Calvin Kattar plus 120. Garcia's coming off 5 wins in a row, and I know he's not as active as people would like him to be, but 5 wins are 5 wins in a row, and especially in this tough weight class of featherweight. Then we got Calvin Kattar, 4 losses in a row, but he hasn't looked bad in those fights. He really hasn't. He's had moments in every fight, I believe. I don't think Kattar's bad. I don't think Kattar's washed. He's a Massachusetts guy, so I wanna root for Kattar. I want to bet on Kattar, but Garcia's so mean. Garcia fights so mean, and he finishes guys. And I don't know if Kattar is just at the same level as he used to be. My heart is going out to Kattar. I wanna bet on Kattar, but I'm gonna take Steve Garcia minus 140. Like I said, I know he's not as active. Kattar hasn't looked bad in his 4 straight losses, but UFC's not doing him any favors, man. Steve Garcia is a mean dude. He's a mean guy. Give me Steve Garcia in this fight. I'm so sorry, Massachusetts. I'm so sorry, Calvin Kattar. I'm so sorry, the Fall River guys. I'm sorry, but we got to go Steve Garcia minus 140. Next, we got Wonderboy at plus 310 versus Gabriel Bonfim at minus 425. I do not like the odds because I do think Bonfim's going to win, but at minus 425 against Wonderboy, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is an unbelievable striker. If he could keep this fight on the feet, he's going to 30-27 him. He's going to make him look silly. He's not going to get touched by him. Bonfim's a very reckless striker, but he's not going to get to Wonderboy, right? And if he grapples with him, that's where he's going to get him, right? But if you look at the guys who really grappled and controlled and dominated Wonderboy on the ground, you're talking about the likes of Bilal Muhammad. You're talking about Gilbert Burns. You're talking about Shavkat. You're talking about the elite of the elite. I don't know if Bonfim's that, but I do think he wins this fight. Wonderboy's getting a lot older. I'm going to take Bonfim at minus 425, but I'll do the same thing I said to do earlier with Lauren Murphy, right? You end the parlays with Bonfim. You put Bonfim on a parlay. You end it with him. And then you sprinkle some on Wonderboy last second. So that way, no matter what, you're winning money on your bet. I'm going to take Bonfim, but I want to hate hedging with Wonderboy again here. It's time for our main event of the evening. We got Derrick Lewis at plus 220 versus Tallison Teixeira at minus 270. I have no clue how this fight's going to go. And I know that's not a great way to start a YouTube channel where you're making predictions. And the first main event is you say, I have no clue how it's going to go. But I wrote down Tallison. When I started this. And then as I'm recording the video, as I'm looking at my notes, I like Derrick Lewis more. Teixeira gets hit, man. He gets hit. And he's not getting hit by guys that hits as hard as Derrick Lewis. I'll tell you that much, right? He did beat Tafa last fight. It really started with the knee to the body. And then it was a nasty elbow to the forehead. That kind of scares me because Lewis is susceptible to being dropped by body shots. So the knee up the middle does scare me. It's going to finish. It's not going to go the distance. Maybe inside the first round, maybe inside the second round. But I'm going to go with Derrick Lewis plus 220. Tallison gets hit too much. And if he doesn't land the shot first and Derrick Lewis lands it, Tallison's going to sleep, dude. I don't care if he's 25 and Derrick Lewis is 40. I don't care. Derrick Lewis hits so hard. So the knees up the middle do scare me. And Lewis, just as an underdog, you can't go against it because he does have that one punch power. He could put anyone to sleep. I'm going to go with Derrick Lewis at plus 220. We're gonna go crazy for our first one. We're gonna go wild a little bit. Give me the big underdog in the main event in Nashville. Derrick Lewis plus 220. That's UFC Nashville. Kind of gift wrap for you a little bit. And again, it's a weird card for me to start a betting channel on, right? We have a lot of people changing weight classes, which is always unpredictable. We have very weird odds against proven veterans. And when I say weird odds, I just mean large odds, right? We have the large odds in the Lauren Murphy fight, the large odds in the Wonderboy fight. So there's a lot of weird fights on this card. Again, I don't know if I picked the wrong one for me to start on, but I really feel confident in this parlay. Now, when I make parlays, I don't try to get plus 600, plus 700. I want to just get plus money, right? I just want it to be like maybe plus 120, 130, 115, just around that area. So that way, if I'm putting $100 on it, I'm getting 200 in return. I'm getting my 100 back, and I'm getting an additional 100 on top of that. So we're going to start with our first Big Bacon parlay. And we're going to keep track of these parlays, and I feel like this one is going to hit. We're going to have Chris Curtis, minus 330, the action man. I explained all the reasons why. I think Max Griffin is not looking good at this point. He got dusted up by Michael Chiesa. Not great at this point in his career. So Chris Curtis, minus 330. We got Vita Patrino getting back on the right track, going against someone who's dropping weight in a not positive light, right? I do think Chris Curtis, his weight cut's going to do well for him in his career. I think Austin Lane, it's just going to make his chin even worse than it already is. So we're going to go Patrino getting back on the right track, minus 700. And then we're going to put Morgan Sharier. Now, in the third round, you might be terrified of the Morgan Sharier bet because Nate Landwehr likes to come forward. He's a dog. He's an animal. We know that that's what he does. He just outgasses people, finishes them in the third round. But I like Morgan Sharier a lot. I think he's going to be so far ahead in the first and second round. And he's not afraid to get booed, right? He is willing to just kind of stick a jab and move away for an entire third round. And I feel like that's going to happen. So we have that parlay plus 115 odds. You got Sharier minus 258, Patrino minus 700, Curtis minus 330. That's going to be our Big Bacon parlay. That is UFC Nashville all wrapped up for you. And hopefully we start off on the right foot. Let's make some money.
Money talks.